the thing that I want people to understand about TRE is that TRE is not a practice. It's not a modality. It's not trauma work. TRE is a mechanism of the human body. It's no different than going to the bathroom or sweating or going to sleep. It's just the TRE is the inherent tremor mechanism in the human body. And that tremor mechanism is what the physical body uses in order to come out of the freeze state, to discharge energy, and to heal from tension and trauma. The tremor mechanism, it's the innate healing mechanism in the human body. And it's not just in humans, it's in all mammals. And that's really key for people to see. This is not like, TRE is different from all the other trauma works. All the other trauma works, they require some level of mind. They require some level of learning, some level of studying. Even if you could say, you could do like acupuncture, and that would be the person receiving acupuncture, there may be no level of mind. That may be happening impersonally. But then the one who's performing the acupuncture, they're actually using their mind to some level. They had to learn that. That's a learned skill. And it's not that all learned skills are inherently invaluable, but I think there's something very important and key to see there, that TRE is the only one that requires no learning whatsoever. It's just a bodily mechanism. The wall sits and like the exercises of tiring out the legs before TRE, those have nothing to do with TRE. Those are just useful for someone who's completely brand new to it. If they've never cognized the tremor mechanism before, and if they've been suppressing it their entire life, fatiguing the muscles does make it easier to turn off and on the mechanism. But those have nothing to do with TRE. Once you do it a couple times and you just recognize that mechanism, you can turn it off and on at will. And that's really, really important, because you would never say that just because you're in a state of unity, or that you're in like some heightened spiritual state or something, you wouldn't say that you just shouldn't go to the bathroom or that you shouldn't sweat, or that you shouldn't be breathing, or that you shouldn't do any normal bodily mechanism. And it's the same with TRE. TRE is a bodily mechanism, and it actually explains so much of the confusion that people have had when it comes to automatic movement throughout all of history. Like an exorcism, a Catholic exorcism is most definitely just TRE. When you start to really do TRE and you experience it yourself, and you experience the kind of movements that can come through you completely autonomously, just completely automatically with no effort at all, it's happening not as a contraction, as an expansion. It's happening as a form of release. It literally looks like an exorcism. It's the same with speaking in tongues. It sounds crazy, but many people report experiences speaking in tongues from TRE. And I've had similar kinds of things. I've had things where I'm like, it's weird because you can always turn it off if you want to. It's never like, once you start this process, this weird stuff just comes out of you against your will. You can always like turn off the mechanism. But the weird thing is, you can also turn it on and you can let it flow through. And like, I've had experiences where I'm like barking and growling and gnarling and like pulling my teeth up. I've had experience like as if I'm like a dog and I'm like jolting my like jaw forward as if I'm gonna like bite something. Or I've had experiences where I'm like hissing like a cat. It's really, really weird. But as it's happening, it feels like healing. It feels healing in a weird way. It feels good. And it's like I said, I can stop it if I want to, but I just let it come through, and then it's like something heals. It almost feels like some type of circuit being completed or something. It feels like an ancestral like healing taking place. It's really strange. And it doesn't just, what's also very, very interesting about TRE is that it seems to automatically go through most of the other modalities without effort, without having to learn from them. Like stuff like Qigong and Reiki, that happens on its own through TRE. I've had many experiences that mimic qigong. Like those different types of animal movements are similar to qigong. And just with Reiki, the different types of like chopping motions and like sweeping of energy and different movements of the hands, I've had all kinds of experiences like that through TRE. And I never, before I knew about TRE, I had tried to learn about those things before, and it never felt right. It felt like it was coming from effort. It felt like it was coming from like, and I never looked into it too much because I could just feel that it wasn't really intuitively right. But then through TRE, I'm doing these things completely spontaneously. I just turn on the mechanism. I just allow my physical vessel to start flowing and to start releasing in any way that it wants. And then it automatically goes through these like Reiki type movements. It's even gone into like various types of prayer. It's gone into vocal movements. It's gone into, there's no limit to it. My breathing has completely transformed. I've had really huge releases on the level of like my breathing. Everything from my nostrils to my tongue, to my jaw, to my neck and my throat, to like my whole diaphragm and my lungs. It feels like, it's an exaggeration, but it really does feel like I'm taking half the amount of breaths, but I'm getting double the amount of air. Like my air intake has literally improved. It's unbelievable. And I always had problems breathing growing up, so it makes sense. And it's like, it's restored feeling and access to parts of my body that had been dead my entire life, and that I didn't even know had been dead or numb, because it was just, it had always been like that. Like now I can flare my nostrils and move my ears, which is weird. I had no control of that before. And if you Google it online, it will say something that like, the reason some people can move their ears and some people can't is because some people have the muscle and others don't. But that's not what's going on here. The reason that you can't control certain muscles like that and you have no feeling and it feels just like there's nothing there, that has to do with parts of the tissue where tension had gotten stored, it had gotten laid down. And it's especially more common in the smaller muscles, like something like flaring your nostrils or moving your ears. Those are very small muscles. And they're also muscles that aren't really necessary for survival. Like you can survive with those muscles being shut off. And so chronic tension, it gets stored there and it gets lodged there. And if it's tense enough, it actually dies. It becomes numb, and then you lose access to it. You lose feeling to it. And but then when it starts to come back, when the feeling starts to come back, it's unbelievable. It feels amazing. It feels like an orgasm in that section of the body. It feels like you're like becoming more full and more whole and more complete. And it can make you cry. It's very weird. You wouldn't think being able to like move subtle muscles in your face or something would like move you to tears, but it really can, because you realize that the fascia in the physical body and just the tissue, it's connected to our sense of well-being. And when you heal these things, when you heal these dead spots that have been dead your entire life, it feels like remembering a part of yourself that had been lost. Or it feels like you feel more complete on a weird way. It feels very deep, and you feel more whole, and you also feel more free. You feel like you have more flexibility. Like before, I've been doing TRE for like 3 years now, and it's changed my life. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's the most fascinating thing because it's changed everything for me. It's like, it's healed so many problems that I knew I had, but it's healed even more problems that I didn't even know were there. And that's what's amazing. And what's amazing is I keep feeling better and better and better from it. And it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. There is supposed to come a point where you completely finish the process and you're completely rid of all the tension in the physical body. But you don't even have to get close to the finished process to start feeling really, really good. Like, and what I was going to say is it starts to feel like, when these dead parts of the body come back online and the life force and the energy begins to flow back into them. Before it was like, I almost felt like I was wearing a skin suit that was like 10 sizes too small. But now it feels like it fits me super, like, my body feels like it fits me. It actually feels comfortable to be in the body, and it feels good. And I feel I feel free, and not just on like a mental, emotional level, how I felt free before. I feel it like in the physical tissue. I feel it in my bones, and I feel it in my fascia. And it's interesting because I had no idea what fascia was prior to TRE, but then I was experiencing this tissue in my body that kept moving and kept tremoring and kept unwinding and releasing. And I could sense that there was some deep energetic connection going on there. It was really, really weird. I could sense that somehow this fascia was connected to my like etheric or like energetic body. And it was only as I was making these connections on my own that I randomly stumbled across fascia, and I started to hear people on the TRE subreddit talk about fascia, and then it all started to make sense. And then it's actually, fascia is extremely common in many spiritual practices. A lot of healing work and a lot of spiritual practice work, if it deals with the physical tissue, it has to do with the fascia. The fascia is the web of the body. The fascia is the living neural network of the body. And it's where most of your chronic tension is being held. But so I was experiencing this fascia, this stuff in my body that I didn't even know what it was. I was experiencing massive changes and big healings, and I could sense that something was changing and moving in the system. And I didn't even know what fascia was. And then I discovered what it was afterwards, and it all made sense. And yeah, it's been the most amazing thing. And and there doesn't have to be any sense of like, you don't want to turn TRE into a practice. Like, it's the same, like, you don't want to like turn going to the bathroom into like a practice. Like it's just like something that can happen sometimes. And most spiritual seekers at some point in their life, even non-spiritual seekers, a lot of people have experienced the tremor mechanism. Like, if you're shaking because you're super, super scared, that's the tremor mechanism. Or like a lot of people, it's common for women to experience it after childbirth or before birth or during. Or a lot of people experience it if they take like shrooms or like acid, some type of psychedelic. It's common to experience tremors. Or a lot of people just have it if they have a big type of mental or emotional release or some type of like spiritual experience. A lot of times the tremor mechanism and the automatic movement can start up, and then people associate it with Kundalini. But the whole Kundalini thing, it just seems so jumbled up, and like it seems like there's not much clarity on what's going on there. But if you look at those automatic movements through the perspective of TRE, it makes so much more sense. There's no like confusion. TRE is extremely simple. And we even have the saying in the English language, like to shake it off. Like we intuitively know that if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling tense, you shake it off. And so that's what the tremor mechanism is. It's a way to shake off the tension and to allow the body. What's happening is the nervous system is recalibrating, and you're breaking down and healing these adhesions in the fascia, and you're in I don't even have the language, but there's something going on with the nervous system where it becomes more refined in this process, and it becomes more open, and you're kind of breaking down old blockages. But you do have to be cautious, because if you overdo TRE, if you break things down faster than you build them up, you actually can get negative consequences. You can overdo it. And that's why it's important not to turn it into like a practice or a goal or something like that. None of this is about like a landing point or like trying to find like one ultimate healing practice. It's more about just building a more full and rich and enlivened relationship with your body, with your physical vessel, and then being able to respond accordingly. And TRE, the tremor mechanism, is a massive, massive, massive missing link that every human being needs to have in their toolkit. Everybody needs to know about this and to have access to it. It's the innate healing mechanism in the human body. There are other ways that the body heals. The body is constantly healing from all types of problems, but there's something about TRE that is like really, really big. And it's so huge because it requires no learning. It's natural. Everybody does it. Everybody should hear The story of the way that TRE was founded, it starts with a guy named David Berceli, and really no one founded TRE because humans have always been doing this. It's just that we've learned to suppress shaking, and there's a weird stigma in our society about shaking, so we suppress it. But David Berceli is the one that really popularized it and put a name to it. And he was volunteering over in war zones in Syria. I think it was Syria, or it was somewhere where there was a lot of bombings happening. And he was with the local people of the community, like the kids and the adults and the families and all the people that were there. And he noticed that any time that like a mortar would go off and that there would be that big loud explosion nearby, everybody in the room at the exact same time, completely synchronized, they would all pull down into the fetal position. They would armor themselves. They would duck and get cover. And it was happening completely impersonally. It wasn't coming from the mind. It was like a physical reflex. It was like no one had to teach everyone to go into the fetal response and to armor down and to protect themselves when that loud explosion happened. That happened automatically. That was just an innate response in the human body. And then he noticed that after the noise was over, a few minutes later, when everything calmed down and everyone started to come out of the armoring, to come out of the protection stance, out of the fetal response, he noticed how the babies and the young children, they were all shaking ferociously. They were really shaking a lot. And then the teenagers and the adolescents, they were shaking a little bit. But they were shaking much less. They were shaking like a medium amount. And then the adults, they weren't shaking at all. And Berceli asked them, he goes, "Why aren't you guys shaking? All the kids are shaking. Why don't you guys shake?" And they go, "We suppress the shaking so that it doesn't scare the kids." And that right there explains everything. That's what's going on. The tremor mechanism has been suppressed. It's been hijacked into something to be suppressed and feared. And so we castrate ourselves from it. We cut ourselves off from this innate healing mechanism, and it becomes a subconscious resistance, and we've laid down such a firm resistance to it that the moment the body feels the urge to shake and to release and to automatically move, we have a knee-jerk reaction to resist it. But this movement, this function, it's part of our structure. It's part of our DNA. It's part of being a mammal. All mammals do this. And what it is it's the inverse of the fetal response. It's the inverse of the armoring. The armoring is a closing down. It's a freezing. It's a holding into place. It's a clutching and a clinging. In the shaking, the automatic movement, the unwinding, the unfolding, the releasing, that's the opposite movement. That's the movement towards expansion. That's how you come out of the physical frozenness, out of the armoring. But most people, they never actually complete that cycle. They never complete that circuit. And so they've laid down over several generations, basically, dozens and dozens of generations that this has probably been being suppressed. So many tension patterns and adhesions and kind of blockages in the DNA and in the tissue have gotten laid down without any of it ever getting released, without any of it ever getting shaken out or being discharged or being let go. But TRE is how you do that. TRE is how you do that. But it's also really, really important. Do not fall into a story or a belief system where you believe that you're bound until you get rid of this stuff. Do not fall into that, because if you turn this into another practice, if you turn this into another story, another landing point, it will actually inhibit your progress and it will stall things. It's better to just what it is that effortless being, or like resting in the upper two koshas, or like no mind mode, resistanceless being, that's like a top-down approach to healing tension. That's like a top-down approach to healing tension, because the root of tension is in the mental activity. But then TRE is like a bottom-up approach. And in general, I would say it's better to focus on the top down. If you're going to make one your focus on the effortless being, the impersonal being. But it's really, really, really great to have TRE in your toolkit. And I think there is certain physical adhesions and certain physical problems, adhesions in the fascia, that in order for those to be resolved, it actually does require some sort of autonomous movement. I think that is necessary sometimes. And that's why the spiritual people experience that. They experience sometimes during a meditation or a big release, the body will start to shake. That's the fascia and the nervous system restructuring, breaking down old blockages and adhesions, and then building itself in accordance with the more subtle energies, the more open, refined energies. And I think that being really, really clear on what that is and understanding that it's not just something that comes randomly, you can actually invoke it consciously. I think that could literally change humanity. I think if people, TRE is the most accessible thing I know of. It requires no language. It requires no anything. It's like going to the bathroom. And it's unbelievable that this has been taken from us, that this has been forgotten. TRE is the answer to so many problems. It's unbelievable. The word disease is dis-ease. That means tension. That means to be not at ease. That means stress, tension, trauma. And the way this all fits in together is tension. The way this fits into effortless being is that tension is an extreme form of effort. Tension is an extreme form of effort, and trauma is an extreme form of tension. But it's all the same movement. It all has to do with contraction and resistance. And it is possible for trauma, if it becomes so tense and so overwhelming and it's so chronic, and it doesn't always have to be one and done extreme events. I don't know if it's most, but a lot of trauma that people have, it's not from singular events. It's from more like just repeated daily activity over months and years. Like if you're just standing on your feet all day, every day, that could cause a level of trauma to the feet or knees or back or whatever it is, like depending on your job. Like there's all types of trauma. Trauma is just tension that doesn't get dealt with and that doesn't get released and that continues to be fueled. It turns into trauma. And most people are extremely tense and then they're becoming traumatized. And then I would say you can kind of classify it as trauma when it crosses over from being tense and painful to being dead, when it goes numb. That's kind of when it's trauma. And then that's when it becomes like unconscious. It becomes like a dead spot in the psyche. And then that's when you kind of perpetually just feel like you're missing something, but you can never find it because it's unconscious. It's become dead. And it feels like, it feels like being less human. It feels like it's hard to describe. And you almost don't even know you were feeling that way until you experience the opposite. And that's been my experience. It's the most unbelievable thing. I feel more human and I feel more connected with people and I just feel more alive. And that largely has to do with effortless being and with the spiritual practice and the top-down approach, but it also has to do with TRE. TRE is what has healed the physical tissue. It's what has brought restoration and balance to my hormonal systems and regulation to my nervous system. And it's really, really healing. It just makes so much intuitive sense. Once you try it and you experience it and you see that it just happens completely on its own, it feels like scratching an itch that had been there your entire life, but you were just never aware of it because it had always been there. That's what it feels like. And it keeps going and going and going. It's healed my pelvic floor dysfunction. It's healed like my chronic knee problems that I've had. And it's just my whole body. And it's very interesting because I can see how the same process that's happening on a spiritual kind of level through like effortless being and through resting, and like unity consciousness and just neutrality and all of those things, that exact same thing that's happening on an overall conscious level, it's actually happening in the physical body through TRE. Like now that I've healed these adhesions in the fascia and my body my whole body, it feels more smooth, more connected, more interconnected, and it feels more whole. I feel like one whole, smooth, gliding unit, and I feel like I can move anywhere and do anything and have no restriction, no friction, no disease. And that's what unity consciousness is about. It's about becoming more whole, more complete, more fulfilled. And that's what's happening in my physical body. My physical body, and I never noticed it before, but in hindsight, compared to now, my physical body, it used to feel like a bunch of separate body parts like clunked together. Like it felt like the legs were like attached to the torso, and then the torso is like attached to the shoulders, and like then to the arm. Like it felt like everything was separate. It didn't feel like it was connected, and it felt fragmented. It didn't feel like I was one whole flowing unit. It felt like I was like severely fragmented, and there was a lot of sections of the body that were inaccessible, that were like dead. But I had no idea, because I was always like that. But I always could sense that something wasn't quite right, and that the way that I was experiencing the world was fundamentally different than people who had much like nicer childhoods. like people who have very ideal lives, they have much less tension and trauma in their tissue, and that does significantly impact how you feel big time. It impacts how the whole world is experienced, and it impacts your capability to connect with others and to feel at ease in your own body. The default state of the physical body is supposed to be like, you're supposed to just feel great. When you're just sitting still and you're not doing anything, your body should be feeling awesome. It should be like you should be able to feel life force flowing all in your body, and it should just feel like great. Like it should feel happy and good and whole and complete to just be in the body. But a lot of people aren't experiencing that. Well, probably most people aren't really experiencing that. But some people have it much, much, much worse than others. Some people are completely disembodied almost, and they have no access to that at all. But TRE is the way to fix it. TRE plus effortless being, plus getting clear on this no mind mode, the impersonal mode, and learning how to decline the invitations and understanding how the invitations work, that is like the holy grail. That is the holy mecca. That's where you can meet in the middle between bottom up and top down, and you re-equip yourself with this vital mechanism of the human body. It's so important for everyone to have experienced TRE, to know how to turn it off and on at will, and to have access to it, and to understand that this is normal. Automatic movement is normal. It's seen in every religion, every spiritual practice. If you go deep enough, you will find automatic movement. And they attributed it to different things. A lot of times it was like demons or spirits coming through you. But the demons are symbols for the trauma or for the tension. And so, yeah, it's automatic movement is everywhere. It's a part of who we are, and we need to learn that we don't have to suppress that. We can allow it, and we can allow it to flow through, and we can allow the body to heal how it knows how to, completely effortlessly, completely on its own, and perfectly. It's all regulated by infinite intelligence because it's not coming from the mind. It happens in the best way possible. And so that's what I want people to know.